I'm your host, Terrence McCrae. Our motto is the movement to succeed continues. Every week we bring you business information, tips, and insights from entrepreneurs, business professionals, and inspired individuals from the San Francisco Bay Area as well as Los Angeles and beyond. The Close the Deal show also features public announcements, Entrepreneur Week, and small businesses. And if you're looking for strategies to help you in business or educate the public, then you're in the right place. Thank you for joining us today. Our topic today is, can you afford an accountant? How to determine if you can afford an accountant. Business owners must continuously think about costs and benefits. You operate with a limited amount of cash, and every spending decision is important. At the same time, no company can grow without investing in people, tools, and other assets. So today, I brought a guest on, Mr. Raul Benavides. This individual is going to talk about not just being an accountant, but during the tax season to give you some insight for small business owners as well as entrepreneurs, and for somebody who needs to know how to make sure they got the right representative when their taxes are being filed. So, ladies and gentlemen of the Close the Deal show, from here to Los Angeles, please welcome Mr. Raul Benavides.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the warm welcome.
Absolutely. Could you share with our viewers not only a little of your background, but your expertise in this field as an accountant?
Of course. Well, first of all, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'm honored to be here. What you do for the public, for the people for our viewers, it's amazing. The platform you create for us to close deals and to get closer to our people, it's very valuable, and I do want to commend you for doing that, and hope you keep doing this for a long time.
Thank you.
All right. As far as me, I'm gonna start by telling you a little more about myself, personally, and then I'll jump into the professional side. As you can probably tell from the Tex-Mex accent, I'm Mexican. Sí, señor. Hablo español. All right. I'm an ordinary man with extraordinary dreams of success, wanting to make ends meet, and having a successful life, a successful retirement, and all of that good stuff that we all dream about. And because of that, I left a big piece of me in Mexico 31 years ago. I came here to the U.S. I worked in every blue-collar job you can imagine, and I put myself in college, and I started my professional career 25 years ago, a little more than that. I say all this because it's quite important, I think, that to tell our viewers that it's important that we have a good connection, because as you would see as we move along in this presentation, you will find that I'll be emphasizing the importance of having a good connection with the person that does your taxes and your accounting.
So when you say having a good connection, how do you build relationships with your clients? And how many clients do you have at this moment?
Accounting, okay, so I have two types of clients. We can break it up more, but we have about 60 clients for whom we do accounting on a regular basis. That is, every month we have a fixed charge that we have to our client, and that fixed charge includes doing your financial statements, or bookkeeping, as people would say. So doing all your financial statements, advising the client, doing your payroll. It could include a consulting, a set number of hours of consulting, so where the client can call in and ask questions, and we give them guidance on how to manage their expenses, how to interpret what's in their bank statements, and all of that good stuff. So we have a set of clients that come on a regular basis, either to do their accounting or to do their bookkeeping, and at the end of the year we do their taxes. Then we have a big set of clients of about 300 clients that come to our office once a year. They'll show up with a big box of, a shoebox of receipts, and we sum it all up and do their taxes. So it ranges from anyone who would show up with a big box of with a lot of receipts, and we put it all together and we do their taxes, to someone who would give us access to their bank, and we download all the information from their bank statements, and we analyze the information, do the accounting all at once, and do their taxes. So we do have a few hundred clients already.
So why is it important to have an accountant over someone rather using QuickBooks?
Oh my God, that's just a whole lot of differences. When you're doing, first of all, when you use QuickBooks, number one, you run the risk of not knowing how to use the system. That's the first thing. The other thing is not knowing how to interpret every transaction that comes through. So you could, by accident, include something that is income, or exclude something that is income and put it as a personal expense, for instance. Or you could have a whole bunch of expenses that do qualify as a deduction and save you money in taxes, but you don't know, and you would just not put it in. Or you could just not know anything about depreciation, meaning if you have a car that qualifies that first of all, you only bought the car because you're running a business, right? So sometimes people don't understand this.
Don't worry about it.
Sometimes people don't understand how to properly use a car as a big deduction. Sometimes it's gonna be a depreciation amount that you can use it as an expense on a yearly basis, or sometimes you can just claim the whole car in the first year. So there's a whole lot of stuff that can save you taxes. That would allow you to be very strategic about how to save money in taxes and keep more of it in your pockets. If you don't have an accountant, you just go into a system because you're trying to save pennies, you're letting go of the big dollars.
That is truly amazing. But one of the things that I find troubling is the fact that you have a lot of individuals who start off with a business, right? But they never include within their budget an accountant. What suggestions do you make for a small business owner that's just starting his own business when it comes to getting an accountant?
The first thing you need to do is you gotta express that desire to do the right thing, right? Express that desire of having this big goal that you all dream about. We all have these big dreams about getting somewhere with our lives, and the only reason, one of the key reasons why you open up a business is because you want to do something good, something big, right? And so by focusing too much on saving the pennies for not having an accountant, you are throwing a lot of money in the garbage, and you're not getting the right advice. And you're not getting the insight of someone who has experience with a ton of businesses, all different sizes. You don't have that luxury of asking questions to anybody. So don't be budgeting without including your your money for your accountant. It's not going to cost you that much money at the beginning. You could be spending a few $100s a month, but at the end of the year, you save a bunch of not millions, but we're talking about small businesses, right? You could save thousands of dollars at the end of the year because you had an accountant. So at the very minimum, you got to go into an office, talk to somebody and say, hey, I'm trying to do this, can we at least build a, one-off consulting service here, I'll give you $100 here, $100 there, you give me some advice, and then we can give you some guidance. And when you're ready, you can hire us on a permanent basis.
So when you meet with a client for the first time, what is your opening pitch to a small business client in comparison to an individual just that need his taxes filed?
Well, for an individual, there's an individual often has very little complications. If the individual is one who has a job, gets a W-2 form, and there's not a whole lot to it. Now, if the individual is actually making good money, let's talk about someone who's making anywhere from $80,000 a year to $100,000 a year or more, then we're starting to see that those people may have the ability to put money on a retirement plan. So by asking questions to the client about their situation, how much they make, what are their plans in the long term, what age, what's their age, because all of these things play an important role in making a decision on what you're gonna do, how you're gonna claim your taxes, your deductions, whatever you have. So For an individual, we look at what they have, and then the more I understand about what's in their tax return, if it's a new client, I'll say, can I get a copy of last year's tax return? Number one, I want to be consistent. Whatever you said last year, I want to make sure that if I change it and I do something different for this year, I want to make sure that you and I are comfortable with what we're doing, because if we have to explain it to the IRS or the state of California at some point, we better have a story to tell, right?
Give me an example without mentioning the person's name.
An example would be someone who asked me, I filed as a, married filing separate last year. Is that an advantage to me? I'll say no. If you are married, you have two options, right? You can file as a married filing jointly, or you can file as a married filing separate, right? Married filing separate is the most expensive one, right? So unless you're going through a divorce or you're having some complicated issues that are very sensitive, I would never advise you to go that route. I'll always say married filing jointly is your best option, right? So that's the kind of stuff that we have to make sure we're on the right path, right?
Well, answer this for me. For a small business owner, could he get a tax break, or she, if they hired a formerly incarcerated person or a disabled person?
Of course. Of course. I mean, we're talking about we're speaking about someone who's going to earn earn wages, right? If I hire anybody who's incarcerated or is a disability or whatever it is, I'm incurring expenses. I'm paying that person, right? So that becomes an expense in my budget.
So you mean to tell me that there could be someone that has an employee of 10 people, and an individual has a background that was showing that he or she made a mistake and they were formerly incarcerated, that the small business owner could write them off based on the tax?
Write what off? The
individual that had a previous record.
You want to write? I guess I want to make sure I understand what it is you're talking about exactly. What did you incur cost? Not you, but did the person incur a cost for being incarcerated or that kind of stuff?
No. More or less, that person didn't commit a crime against the person that's offering him the job. I'm just curious that can local small businesses, I know corporate companies are hiring people that were formerly incarcerated, but is it where a guy owns a hamburger stand and he has 6 employees and he decides that he wants to hire someone who was formerly incarcerated, and it just so happened when it come time for him to file his taxes, he can write him off on his taxes, not just being an employee, but the fact that he was formerly incarcerated?
I don't know about the fact that he was formerly incarcerated. I think that could be a whole other complicated subject to talk about. But
what about disability?
But okay, so what in the same thing? I mean, there's exceptions for everything. But when someone comes in, I go back to the same example. It's like any other employee, right? So if I, as an employer, let's say that I have to make additional accommodations for someone who has a disability. All those accommodations that I'm making available to that person become another deduction for me, right? At the same time, whatever I'm paying that person is like any other employee. It's gonna run through my payroll. So that is definitely a deduction that the person can get. Now,
okay, would that also include, like, today there's a big issue in the workforce with sexual harassment. So companies that hire professionals that educate people on sexual harassment, could they write that workshop off as a tax write-off?
Of course. You would not be incurring, and this is very important. I think a lot of people I'm glad you asked that question. A lot of people ask this question, does this qualify, does that qualify, okay? Always think about this. Would I be incurring this expense if it wasn't for my business, right? As simple as that, right? You would not be providing that education if it wasn't because you have that kind of business, right? And ultimately, that level of education, that kind of education, is gonna is gonna serve the public. It's not something that is just gonna stay at work. That you're gonna retain your employees, you're gonna have a better culture at work, and then these people are gonna spread the message outside of work. So it's a win-win in every way you look at it. And again, you would not be incurring that cost if it wasn't because you're running a business, right? So you deduct it.
Absolutely.
Right.
So overall, how do you feel when you build a strong relationship with your clients?
How do I feel? You can sense it in the smiles. It's easy. You can sense it, man. I got a call today. Someone sent me a text a couple of weeks ago. Someone who's in the flea market. It was she that I spoke to the most. But in this particular case, it's someone who's doing it in the market. They spend hundreds of dollars to buy tools. They see it. They see somebody selling tools. They'll buy all these tools. They'll see somebody selling other stuff. They'll go buy it. So they'll buy all this cheap stuff they find at the flea market, and they turn around and they make money on it at the same place. So they're having a hard time how to manage all this ins and outs, and a lot of it is cash. So what do you do? So I've never heard of this person. Someone sent me a text. I talked to the person, or finally she called me today. I had never heard about this person. I spent 45 minutes talking to the person for free. And
so what do you charge just to be talking?
In that particular case, I charged zero, nothing. Okay? Because I'm trying to build a relationship, right? I tell all these things to the person because I want them to come to my office, right? Then I go back to my desk and I write a long email. I say, per our conversation, these are your issues. And I outline what I understood as their issues, and I give them a bunch of different methods and how they can keep track of their expenses and keep track of their income, and then be more organized and be more approachable by anybody who is trying to do their books. Because if they come with a big mess, maybe their accountant is going to say no thank you, right? So the person was very happy. I have no doubt in my mind they're going to come back to me. And all I did is spend a couple hours, 45 minutes talking to them on the phone, and over an hour writing a really detailed email explaining to them. I know, based on my conversation, I know they're going to come to me.
In 2 minutes, explain to my viewers, what is it that you love about your job and why?
That which I just said to you right now is the best example, one of the best examples. There are a lot of people who are trying to cut corners, and sometimes they cut the wrong corners. You know what? Everybody wants to keep the most we can on our pockets, right?
Have you actually experienced a client trying to cut a corner?
Oh yeah, every day. Every day, man. This is my job. This is the hardest part of my job. I know you're asking me about the other side, but that's the hardest part. People trying to cut the wrong corners. So my job is to advise the client about the risk, the potential risk that they're not seeing by cutting that corner. Not just financially, but legally, right? I basically outline why or how the IRS thinks. I know how the IRS thinks. I talk to them every day for hours. I solve problems every day. I make calls. I save thousands of dollars to the client. So I know how they think. And so when I see clients cutting corners, I'm providing education. I'm mitigating the risk. I'm saying, hey, let's not focus on the pennies. Let's focus on the big dollars. And to me, the opportunity to give advice to people to make a difference in their lives, and to know that this year they're not going to take $80,000 down on net income, but maybe $100,000 or maybe even more because of my help. This year they're not going to pay $20,000 of taxes, but $12,000. I save $8,000 by having a conversation and sending them to the bank and putting some money on retirement. So I do a lot of contribution to the client today and to their future. And that, to me, means a lot.
Could you allow our viewers to know how they can become educated by you, by reaching out to you? Could you please share how they can become educated and ways that they can learn from you?
First, I would say think about your situation. really think about what you want to do in your life, how you want to, what kind of business are you running. Come prepared. If you have no idea how to understand, how to read a financial statement, ask me. Ask me a lot of questions. Ask me as many questions as you can. And the information I'm going to give you is amazing. But you have to ask me a lot of questions. What? I'm sorry. Okay, so again, just come to me and ask me a lot of questions, and I'm going to give you a lot of information. Again, look at your financial statement, look at your bank account, and I'll be more than happy to give you a lot of information.
Thank you. Before we close this deal, remember, the Close the Deal show will be expanding more, not just in San Francisco, but in Los Angeles. If you have suggestions or questions, or even want to apply to be a guest on the show, go to the www.theclosethedealshow.com. San Francisco Bay Area viewers, you can watch us every Monday night at 8:30 on Channel 29. Cable Comcast in San Francisco, worldwide. Find the Close the Deal show on the YouTube channel. Just click my name, Terrence McCray, and my picture. Please subscribe, like, and comment on your favorite episode. Take good care, everyone, and don't forget, find the right connection and close the deal.
Thank you.